to my parents and told them that I had signed up for college classes and I hadn't. And then like a week before college was supposed to start, they were like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be going to school?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be a rapper." I wanna have it all right now, but sometimes you gotta wait for the good thing. Feel like we're going round and around, but sometimes you gotta wait for the good thing.
He's an alternative and hip-hop artist from Dallas, Texas. You may know him from his new song, Dead Wrong. Please welcome SpaceMan Zack to the podcast. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, for real. Yeah, no problem. It's great to have you on. So just kind of to start off, what was kind of your first experience with music, or how did you first get into it?
I mean, I've always been like super interested in it. I think it's always been something that like was carried through my household. Even before I was making it as a little kid, you know, my parents were very passionate about music, not necessarily making it, but like listening to it. Mm-hmm. And I was shown, you know, even as like a young child, I was shown like a lot of different genres of music through their interests. So it kind of like, you know, was like a lot of different things like forming my opinions on it. And then I started, I was very interested in poetry when I was young, like the poetry section of like English class. And so I started writing my own poems as almost like a therapeutic like way to like, you know, relieve stress or whatever. And, you know, one day my friends were like, "Hey, why don't you put these to beats?" And I was like, "That's not a bad idea." And so I started doing that. And so I started rapping. And then it kind of just grew from there. And now I was like 12 when that happened. So, yeah.
So how, if there is a difference for you, how do you kind of have that difference between poetry and like lyrics or raps? And how are those similar, and how do you differentiate the two?
They're almost pretty much the same thing. I think when you're writing lyrics, I think when you're writing poetry, like, I feel like there is kind of like, I mean, there's obviously like free form poetry, but I think there's like more like rules to follow almost to make it like sound like a certain way. When you're writing lyrics for songs, I feel like there's absolutely no rules to music, in my opinion. So like you can literally just do whatever you want, and then like as long as it sounds cool, then like you made a good song, you know? Like I took a lot of like music theory classes, and like I was in like choir in high school and stuff like that. And like I can tell you that like the way that we make songs now, my choir teachers would hate me for it. But they sound sick, so it's like, you know, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So what's that like coming up with a new song now? What's kind of that process like? Is it lyrics first, then a beat then lyrics, a mix of the two? What's that like?
It's usually, so I am blessed to have so many cool producers send me like beats and stuff. It's usually beats first. So what we'll do is I'll go through and I'll get like a beat pack. So I'll get like 30 beats in an email, go through, find one that I really, really like, and then we'll actually just like upload it to our recording software. And I don't really write like necessarily like traditionally write songs anymore. I have it like uploaded, and then I'll just tell my engineer to like start recording, and I'll play the whole beat, and I'll just start like mumbling like melodies along to the beat, like almost like I'm singing along. And then I'll record all that, and then I'll listen to that like that mumble track a couple times until I find the melodies that I like really like. I'm like, oh, that's a really catchy melody, we should do that. And then from there I'll like write like 4 lines at a time and just like work through the song section by section. So it's like different, because when I first started writing music, it was like sit down, you know, write a whole song start to finish, have all the ad-libs planned out, like all this stuff. And now it's just kind of like an in the moment, on the go thing, which both are equally cool, I think. But I like the in the moment on the go because I feel like it lets you like hear like the emotion and the like the thought process of just like this is the first time I've heard this beat too, so like let's vibe out, you know.
Yeah. And
So
it almost gives you a bit more creative freedom. You don't have to feel like, oh, I wrote this, now I have to keep this in the song. You kind of have the
exactly,
space
because
to.
I'll write some stuff like I'll write something like in the moment, and then I'll try to record it, and I'll like hate it, and then I'll like switch like 3 words. So like it's really funny because I've had some people make like the lyric videos for me, like where they'll put the lyrics to my songs, and they'll ask me for the lyrics to my songs, and I'll have them like in my notes, and I'll send it to them, and they're like, "This doesn't look right," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right," because in the middle of recording this, I switched the lyrics, so like let me fix that for you, you know, but. Yeah, I just like I don't like to give myself any boundaries or rules or anything like that because I feel like it like halts creative process, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so recently, with like social media and TikTok and whatnot, we've seen artists kind of get shorter and shorter with their music. It kind of went from albums to singles, and now artists are just looking for that like 15 seconds. How has that like changed your music, if it has changed, or do you still kind of try to stay unique, stay doing what you're doing, or do you sometimes like find yourself trying to just get that one like viral moment of a song?
Um, I mean, it's definitely something in your mind, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've noticed exactly what you're saying. I think a couple years ago, I kind of stopped focusing on like a perfect album as much as I care about like I think singles are like very very important. Like I just think that like every song should be able to stand on its own and not have to be like. I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, this is a good song," but it would be an album song. Like it would be one that's tucked away in an album. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no. If it's a great song, then you should just be able to listen to it, and like it should just stand on its own. Um, and I think in terms of like career wise too, that's important because I think that like every song getting its shine helps you get like more numbers and stuff like that. Because like if you look at like an artist, a lot of times they'll drop an album and a song that would have gotten just for example, like a song that would have gotten 3 million plays since it's on an album with 10 other songs,
Mm-hmm.
only got like 500,000 to 1 million because people were like trying to listen to the whole album. So it takes away a little bit from each song. In terms of like the like TikToks and stuff like that with like like 15 seconds of a song or whatever.
Yeah.
I have made certain things like where I'm like, oh, this would go crazy on like apps like that. Like this would go crazy on social media, just like a little snippet thing. But I don't think I've ever really like sat down and tried to be like, okay, let's make the coolest 15 seconds of a song I can do. Because to me, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like if like a song is just really good in its entirety, then like any 15 seconds of it could go viral type thing, you know? So no hate to anyone who is doing that. I've actually found a lot of artists through like the little 15-second snippets.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But for me, it's just like I'd rather just like focus on like let's make the whole song crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so, when you were younger, kind of growing up in those poetry classes or whatnot, like other than music, whether it was at the same time or even before, was there anything else you might have thought about doing in life, or was it kind of music from the start?
I actually played sports. My family is very big on sports. So I played football. My parents put me into football when I was like 1.
Wow.
And so I mean not 1.
So, yeah,
I'm so stupid.
What?
I'm like literally just like I'm sorry.
I got your
1.
point. I didn't think you were. I didn't think that was literal, but yeah, I got the point.
I meant to say like first grade. I just zoned out really hard. No, I got put into football when I was like really young. Like very 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 young, and I played football my entire life. It was like kind of like, yo, you're gonna be a sports kid, which I love sports. No, I'm not taking away from that at all.
Yeah.
But I played from like second, third grade until like most of my high school career too. And I loved it. And like for a long time, I wanted to be like a professional football player. Like that was like the dream, was like go to college and then get drafted to the NFL or whatever. And I was doing pretty good. I mean, like I had like some colleges offer like scholarships and stuff like that for sports, and like big plans for it. But I started making music when I was like 12, and then it was like music was actually kind of just like the fun hobby. And then I think I was like 16 when I realized like, oh, like maybe music is like my actual passion and like not sports. Like it's like, I should switch gears. And we make jokes about it all the time because it's kind of like the TV show Glee. But I quit playing sports to pursue like music. So in high school, I quit playing sports, and then I moved over to like choir, and I did show choir, which is like the show Glee. Like we danced and sang like Britney Spears songs. And we were like 13th in the nation. We were number one in Texas. We were like really good, and then we like traveled around. But it taught me a lot about like being on stage and stuff. But yeah, for like most of my life, I wanted to be a football player, and that was like what my life was dedicated to. And then I realized like, oh, music makes me way happier. This is way cooler. So.
Mm-hmm. And so
I can't believe I just said one. I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. So, what kind of like tips or advice would you give to people just starting to make music, just starting to kind of get themselves into making it and want to become an artist or a band in the space?
My biggest advice would just kind of be like, just do it. I hear a lot of people tell me like they'll hit me up and they're like, "Yo, I want to start making music, but I don't have the resources, or I don't have like equipment, or I don't have whatever." And I'm like, well, it's kind of like the same thing as like working out. It's like there's always going to be a million reasons why you could just start tomorrow, but like what you should do is just start now. Like when I first started making music, I had a broken laptop with a free software called Audacity that I found on the internet. And I actually stole the microphone from my family's PlayStation 2 video game for Rock Band, where you can like sing.
Yeah.
And it's like a USB plug-in, so I just plugged it into my computer and it worked, and it records music. So I would record songs like on an actual microphone, and it sounded awful. It was terrible. Like it was not good at all. But like at least I was doing it, and then from there I would like level up my equipment, level up what I knew how to do. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like mixing everything myself, just figuring it out, and it was a process. So I just feel like there's like there's always a million reasons why you can't do something, but like you should just try and like learn as you go. And then the other big thing that I just usually tell people is like, don't do it for anyone but yourself. I think if you're like making music and you're like, oh my God, why don't people like this song? Or like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 2 years and I don't really have much of a fan base yet. It's like, those are like the wrong reasons to be doing it. Like if you're just like only interested in like getting attention from it, because I think that like, if you just truly love being an artist and being creative and stuff, you'll just be happy, like I made music for like 8 years with like no fan base at all, and like I wouldn't have traded that for the world, and even like now, like if like magically one day like my entire fan base was gone and like I wasn't making any money, I wasn't doing anything like getting a bunch of plays, I would still make music just because it's something that makes me happy,
Mm-hmm.
So I think you should just kind of do what makes you happy. Don't get caught up too much in like the politics of it. Just like have fun. That's all music is. It's supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be an outlet. So.
And like back to what you were saying with like the people saying I want to make music, but this, but that. I forget who it was exactly. I was trying to think as you were talking, but I was talking to someone and they were saying like nowadays with like how accessible and easy everything is, as long as you already have like a laptop and an iPhone, you probably have what it takes to make an album.
No,
And like
that's 100% true. Like
already having a phone and laptop, like you don't have after that you don't have to spend any money. You could have a $0 budget and you can make an album.
That's like so true. It's kind of crazy how well like the internet and like technology just like helps artists now. Like like we're out here like I mean obviously I have some equipment, but like we're out here making like albums and like making songs. And like touring off these songs that we're making in our bedroom. Like my most popular song, "Cook in the Bathroom," has like 5 million plays on Spotify, and I literally made that in my parents' bathroom because I didn't have a studio to record at, and I had a microphone stand and a laptop, and so we like did it in the bathroom. Got super lucky; it sounded sick, and it like blew up.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy to think like you don't really like I've recorded out in California, like I've recorded in like the $1 million studio, and that's always fun and nice, but like you really just don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
You could just do things.
Obviously, you had plenty of equipment, but I was watching something. It was a documentary about Billie Eilish, who's clearly like one of the biggest artists in the industry right now, and like her debut album that launched her to stardom. She and her brother were almost the only people on it, and it was made just in her bedroom. And I was like, that's sick. They were just chilling in the bedroom, making albums, and then became like some of the biggest stars in the world.
And also that album is incredible. So it's so cool, and like I love that. Like I actually love how she like put it in the album. Like there's like the little like intro takes where she's like I just gotta take my retainer out, and like like it's just so cool because I think it just adds so much personality of just like, hey, like we're just out here trying to have fun, make music, and it sounds cool. So I love that. We just did me and my manager / videographer actually. His name's T. Aubrey, and we just did we call them the making of videos, and he basically just came over and filmed one of my studio sessions, and like you can see in it like. We don't even have like a desk anymore. Like it's 2 end tables that we slid together and put speakers on, and we're recording on it in the middle of my living room. People are walking in and out of my house, making food in the background, in the kitchen, and like we're just like, it's cool.
So whether it was from sports or anything else, was there ever a moment where you kind of had to step away from music or thought about stopping making music?
I've been through a couple moments like that. I think it was, when I was a little younger, like, like 17, 18. And I think I was caught up too much in like the whole, like, oh, when am I going to blow up? When am I going to get famous? Why don't, like, why am I not, a huge artist? And it does get kind of tiring sometimes when you're like really shooting for that goal, and then like, you'll put out a song and like it just won't do as well as you want, like it get as many plays as you want and stuff, and it gets kind of tiring because it's just like, oh my god, like what am I doing wrong? Why don't people like my music? And it took me a while to like realize that like really nobody owes you anything. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody owes me a listen on my song. Nobody owes me a retweet. Nobody owes me a promotion or anything like that. Like you have to make people like want to do that. Like you have to like really put your work in and make like the song good enough where they hear it and they're like, I can't stop listening. But when I was younger, I was kind of caught up in that like whole like, like I just want to get famous and I just want to do blah 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 and whatever. And I remember there was definitely a couple times where it became discouraging. and I like would give up music for like a week, and I'd be like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just stupid. I'm never gonna, make it. Blah blah blah. And then like a week later, I'd be like, oh, I have a crazy song idea. I have to get this out. And then I would make the song, and then like my retirement was over, and I'm back.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done that though since I was probably like 18, because I think at this point I've just like realized like music is like just something that's gonna be in my life forever. Like no matter what, like I just like my version of hanging out with my friends is just like, hey, let's all get into my living room and make a song, even if it never comes out. Like I have a group of friends that we literally like link up like once a week, and we make songs that are complete jokes. We just don't release them, and I have like a catalog full of them in my phone that we just made for fun. Like we made a song about birds because we were bored, and it's really awful and dumb, but it was fun.
Yeah. And so, is there a person, maybe another artist, someone in your family that has kind of inspired you to go after music, which is what you're passionate about, or just inspired you in life in general?
I would say my mom is very inspiring to me. She's always kind of just like accepted like, hey, if you're happy doing what you're doing, then do it. And she always kind of taught me that even from like when I was first making my transition. My dad also, I actually like he was very like resistant to me like switching passions and like switching career paths or whatever. And he was like, I thought you were gonna be a football player, like I thought you were gonna play sports, like whatever. I was like, no, I want to be a rapper. And then when I graduated and I lied to my parents and told them that I had signed up for college classes and I hadn't. And then like a week before college was supposed to start, they were like, hey, aren't you supposed to be going to school? And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a rapper. And so there was definitely that like hesitation of like,
which is clearly always what a parent wants to hear.
you know what I'm saying? And like at the time I had like no fan base or like no money or on anything like that. So like there's that hesitation of like, oh God, my son is not gonna be able to pay bills at all. And so, but he's very supportive, and I found out like later on that like his dream as a kid was actually to be like a rock star, and I didn't know that growing up, but like it kind of made sense with all the stuff he was showing me, like music stuff he was showing me, and so I kind of found out that he kind of like lives vicariously, I think that's the word, through me, with this kind of stuff, and like he comes to my shows. And like I brought him up on stage, and he's like, wow, this is crazy. I've never been on a stage before, and like let him get his little 15 minutes of fame. And then in terms of like creative people, I think my manager T. Aubrey, he met me like coming out of high school, and I was very lost. Didn't know like I was making different types of music. And they were all cool, but like I didn't really know like what was my sound yet, and like I didn't really know like who I wanted to be as an artist, like what kind of music I wanted to make, what I wanted to be about. And he saw me. I met him at a show, and I was performing for like 4 people, and I was the opener of the show. Like they literally put me on as the doors were opening, so people were just walking in, like not paying attention to me at all. And I'm performing, and he was one of the people there because he was working with a different artist that was also on the show, and he came up to me after the show and was just like, "Hey, like your music is kind of not that great, but you look like you were having a lot of fun on stage." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, it was crazy." And he's like, "I like your energy." And then like after that, we started talking, and he like started teaching me that like, genuine like feeling is the best thing about music. So he was like, why don't you put some of these things that you're telling me into your songs? And then like I started doing that, and then like SpaceMan Zack was born, and so he's been a crucial part of my career, like in terms of like direction of my artistry. Also, like he kind of just taught me like, hey, dude, you gotta work like really hard to make it in this industry. and like kept me on a path where it was like, he was calling me in the morning, waking me up so that we could go shoot videos anytime I had a free day. Like, it got to the point where we were putting out like a song every 2 weeks and a video to match it.
Oh,
and
wow.
we did it for like 2 years, and it was like so much content. And it was just because he would literally call me in the morning, wake me up, and be like, "Hey, go make something right now. I don't care what it is, just go make something."
Yeah.
And that like really helped me career and like just
Yeah.
personally. So
And so when you were kind of that opener for the show, you got 4 people paying like half attention to you, but you're still up there loving it. How, what kept you in it, kept you loving it, even though you didn't have that many people there?
that was like to be honest, that was like my second show ever. I was still like in high school at the time. So I was riding off the high that I was just on a stage, and that there was like at least like one person in the crowd that didn't know me that was listening to my music. Also, like, I got to brag to all my friends at school the next day, like, yeah, I just played a show. I'm a famous rapper. It's no biggie. They didn't have to know that there was like 4 people there, but I just got to say, like, yeah, I played a show. It's no biggie. But but looking back on it, like, I probably didn't even put on a good performance. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was just fun it's just fun to perform music.
But maybe not just indefinitely, but to some extent, just having fun, just like being up there and loving it is a good performance.
That's true. Like, that's kind of what Tiabri said. Like, that's why he was interested in me. He was like, "Yo, you performed for 3 people, but you were acting like it was like 100,000.
Yeah.
You were just doing your thing and like not caring, and you were still putting out the energy." And so to be honest, whenever I perform, I don't really think about any of that stuff. Like, I tell people, like, I kind of black out on stage. Like, I really don't know what's going on. My body just kind of like does its thing, and I have fun. So yeah, I mean, I just don't really think about it too much. But yeah, it was definitely weird, because like going from that to like being able to sell out my own shows is like really kind of insane. And like I was watching video footage of me when I was like 18, 19, and I was performing at shows for like 10 people, till like last year performing for 400. And it's just wild to like see, like, whoa, like, that's crazy. Like
there are people here.
Yeah, like, this is wild. And then like we performed in Finland for a concert, which was just crazy. Like, okay, we're traveling now. We're talking to all these people about like doing Canadian tours and shit like that. And it's like at what point did this become so real? This is crazy,
Mm-hmm. And so your name, SpaceMan Zack, kind of where did that come from? How did you come up with that?
So it's kind of funny. So there's like layers to this story, but so when I was like a little kid, my mommy is Catholic, so I went to like Catholic churches and stuff, and whenever anyone would talk about like heaven, or like like when my grandma passed when I was little, my mom said like, oh, she went to heaven, she's an angel now, whatever. My only logical explanation in my head was that heaven was like in space, because it's like it's just up there, And so when I was like 17 or 18, around that, a lot of shit happened when I was like 17 or 18. That's like when my career started, I guess. But I was around that age, and I was going just by my real name, which is Zach Miller, and I was getting a lot of comments on like the internet, like, "Hey, you should change your name, because like white rapper, Mac Miller, Zach Miller," which completely understandable. I definitely should have changed my name. And R.I.P. because he's a legend. and he was a huge influence on me too. But yeah, so I was going by Zach Miller, and I was like, I need to change my name. Like I can't like make a career having basically the same name. And so I was like on a hunt for like, okay, what can be my new stage name? I want it to be cool. I want it to be interesting. I also didn't want it to be anything that like, I didn't want it to be anything crazy. Though, like when I introduce myself to people, I'd have to like call myself something else. Like I was like, I just want people to be able to call me Zach, and I made a song called Spaceman, and the whole song was basically, it was like in the song I was telling my mom that when I die, I want to become a spaceman, which is like an angel in heaven. And so I was like, I basically saying like, I want to be a good person when I die. I want to go to heaven, and so I made this song called Spaceman, and then after it dropped, someone hit me up on Twitter, and they like DM me, and they were like, "Hey, you're that Spaceman guy, right?" And I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool." And so I switched my name like immediately on Twitter to Spaceman. And then I was like, I don't want to like have to like literally introduce myself as Spaceman to everyone. So I added Zach to it so that I could just be like, "Hey, I'm Zach," but Spaceman Zack came out of that.
Mm-hmm. And so you were saying younger or earlier in your career, you kind of were looking for your own sound. You were taking inspiration from other artists. While doing that, how do you kind of use what you hear from other artists and like take inspiration from that, but also keep it like something unique, put your own Spaceman Zack sound on it?
I think it's really easy to get caught in like like taking inspiration and then almost just copying it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like that still happens sometimes. Whenever I experiment with new genres, like I'll experiment with like a genre that I've never done before, and I'll listen to some artists who do that, and like the first song I make in that genre will literally just sound like a copy, cut, paste,
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it just comes with like doing it repetitively, and like you'll do it a couple times, and then you'll find like your own little like ways of doing things, and it's like not even a conscious thing. It's just like I think everyone has their own, like every human really just has their own tendencies that like want to come out, but like you just have to let them, and you have to be comfortable enough to let them happen. So like, I'll do like I made my first rock song I ever made. It literally just sounded like a Green Day song, like because that's like my favorite band, and so like it just sounded like a rip off of a Green Day song. And then after doing it a couple times, I figured out like, oh, I'm comfortable doing this now. And so like my own personal tendencies would come out, and then now you have like something unique and something creative, and like you start to like learn, oh, like I like when I do this and I don't like when I do that, and like this may have worked for somebody else, but like the way I'm gonna do it's gonna be a little different.
This works for somebody else, but they're somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I think that there's just like, I don't think that you should ever get down on yourself for like sounding like somebody else or anything like that. I just think that you should like always like push to make like, is this genuine to you? And 99% of the time, if you are like a copy paste of something, it's not genuine to you because it was genuine to someone else who made it.
Mm-hmm.
And so after you get comfortable and start doing it, then you realize like what is genuine to you, and you start doing that, and then like that's where like people are really gonna start liking it, because like all of a sudden they realize like, oh, this is like the real Zach. This is the real whoever, and I just think that's really interesting because I do feel like everyone, even if you're not a musician or an artist or anything like that, even like it's the same kind of thing as like Twitter, man. Like I can like see a tweet and like know who it came from most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I like take away the profile picture or the name, but I'll see a tweet and I'm like, oh, T. Aubrey tweeted that for sure, because like everyone just has their own self identity and sense of self that like is dying to come out. You just have to let it come out, know.
And so, obviously, the dyed hair, the face tattoos, you're clearly an eccentric person, but like what kind of was behind those decisions, or like for the face tattoo, for example, what kind of made you pull the trigger on that and be like, I'm going for it, I'm getting the face tat?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been a little like different, I guess. And I've always, even as a kid, like I liked doing things that would just piss people off. Like I was just like, you know what, like this is gonna make someone so mad. Like I'm just gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was always kind of like on, if you see pictures of me in high school and stuff, like I very much dressed for a while like a jock. Like it was like, you know, like like tight shirts that show off my muscles and stuff like that. But I always knew that like I wanted to be like this. I was just very scared of like the way people were gonna like treat me and like react and stuff like that. So I felt like I had to hide in like a shell. And I remember like when I was in high school, I started painting my nails, and I got made fun of by like other kids. So I stopped painting my nails for a while because I was like, like people are mean to me, whatever. And it took me a while to like realize like, hey, just do what you want to do and do what makes you happy. I don't know if I can cuss. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. But like forget them and like just do what you want to do. And so I started doing it, and I think T. Aubrey was the first one to tell me like, hey, like experiment with dyeing your hair. And I was like, at first I was like, what? Like really? Like I could have purple hair? That's crazy. And then I did it one day, literally like on a whim. I remember the first time I ever dyed my hair. I was just drunk, and I had a box dye from like Walmart, and was like, I wonder what my hair would look like if I dyed it. And then I just did it, and then it turned out sick. And I was like, let's go. This is gonna be a thing forever. And then with like my face tat specifically, I love tattoos. I've like ever since a kid wanted to be like covered in tattoos. I always thought they're very cool. They're a cool way to express yourself. They're also a healthy way to express yourself, instead of like getting into trouble and stuff like that. And I always thought face tats were really cool. I always just thought it was like, the biggest like sense of, it's like the biggest like statement of like I am who I am, and you can't tell me anything, because like I believe in myself so much that I literally put ink on my face and can't get a job. Like the moment you get a face tat, like your life completely alters and like changes. And I remember my mom hates face tats. She's like, no, don't ruin your face, whatever. The old people thing. But I remember telling her, like, I was like, look, I won't get one until I'm like established as an artist, until like I really, am doing something with this. Like, I'm not going to get one when I'm still working, a job or whatever. And no hate to anyone who does work a job and has face tats. I have a lot of friends who do. I'm not hating anyone. Just personal experience. But I remember I quit my job, and I was without a job for like 6 months, maybe a year, as a full-time artist. And it got to the point where I was like, look, dude, I moved into my own place. I moved out of my parents' house. I was paying all my bills from solely like music. I'm like, I'm traveling to different countries. Like, I'm pretty sure that you could like say I'm an established artist at this point. And I was like, I've always wanted one, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to pull the trigger, and I'm going to say, fuck it. And this even, I feel like a lot of artists say this, but like, it was like a message to myself. It's like, you can't fail anymore. Like, if you fail, it's going to be really hard for you to get a job, dude. So like, make sure music works out. And then it just kind of worked out, like I had put out my album Wicked, and the cover art was me wearing a Band-Aid that said Wicked. And so I was like, I'm going to get Wicked tattooed on my face. And originally it wasn't supposed to be this big either. It was supposed to be like really small. And the artist drew it on my face and was like, hey, I'm going to do it big. And I was like, let's do it. But yeah, it was just always like it's like a statement to everyone, even myself. Like, this is me, and this is what I'm going to do. So.
Mm-hmm. And so you're talking about high school, kind of whether it was as a jock or wanting to dress with like the hoodies, the nails, whatnot, and kind of getting made fun of for that, kind of made you step away from dressing like that or not want to dress like that. What kind of did that do to your mental health, or how did your mental health help you get over that and eventually um, make you do it anyways?
I mean, it definitely affected me. I think that, like, it's the same way that it would affect anyone. Like, it lowers your self esteem and it makes you think like just become less confident in yourself. And I think that was a big problem for me growing up was confidence. Like I had like no confidence like ever. And I think that was also a problem with my music was that it showed through in that. And like I think as a musician, no matter what you're talking about, you have to be confident. And so mentally, I just think that like I got to a point where I was like, I'm not happy anymore because I don't feel that I can truly be what I want to be and who I am, and
Yeah.
like, not to say that people didn't have it way worse than me, and my heart goes out, but like, I just was like, I can't be who I want to be, and I can't dress the way I want to dress, and I can't do anything like that without people making fun of me, and it really sucked, and it really did suck. I felt like I was like living in a shell that wasn't me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then like I would start to like slowly throw in like little hints of like style here and there,
Yeah.
like a band T-shirt every once in a while, like with a band that I like. Uh, yeah, and like I graduated high school like that, and like just was not happy with who I was or how I was portraying myself because I didn't feel like it was genuine to me. And it really took me, until like after high school, um, to just kind of finally realize, like, look, dude, if they don't like you because of the way you look, they don't like you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, those same people who are making fun of me for like painting my nails and shit are the same people who like probably didn't like me anyway, and it was just high school. So, like
so,
what?
So if you could have if you could like go back to high school and be like, hey, old Zach, just go for it. Don't care about what people say. Just start painting your nails. Start dressing how you want to dress. Like, do you think you would do that regardless of what people say, or do you think you would still feel like you needed to wait until after graduating?
No, I mean, I wish it's like the age old like I wish I knew back then what I know now. If I could go back and tell like 16-year-old me like, hey, dude, you're sick as and don't listen to these kids because you're tight, your style's cool, and eventually people are gonna literally think you're cool because of your style.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about this. Just do it if you like it. I would love to go back and tell myself that because it's really crazy. I was so insecure, and now I have people like literally hit me up on Instagram and they're like, "Bro, I haven't listened to your music yet. I'm a new follower, but you look cool as f-. And I'm like, that's so tight. Like, you really liked my outfit today? That's cool. Thank you. And like, I was so worried about that back then, and now it's just like, people are like, oh, you're cool.
Yeah, and that way you dress, the way you dye your hair, have tattoos, like you said, it makes it harder to get what older people would say a real job. It makes it harder to do things that maybe aren't as social media or music based. Why do you think that is? And like, what do you think we could do to start kind of changing that stereotype and show that like it's perfectly fine hiring people with face tats that shouldn't disqualify them from being part of society.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about that, and like, I never really understood it, even like as a kid. What like having a tattoo on your face like makes you like a bad person, so you can't get a job. That doesn't make sense to me, and I understand that it's like professionalism. A lot of companies, want that clean cut look, like they have an image to uphold. And I get it to an extent, but it's just like the one thing I don't know how to change it really. Like I don't know how to change the world, but like the one thing is just like in my head, it really shouldn't matter because it's like from personal experience, like some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, the most hardworking, nicest, genuine people are like tatted the up. And like I've met dudes, like I have a homie who has like his whole face is tattooed. Like there's like this much skin left without tattoos on it. And like that dude looks crazy. And I think it looks sick. You know, I'm like, yo, your tattoos are nice. Mm-hmm. But most genuine, hardworking person I've ever met. And then I've also met people who are super clean cut, you know, exactly like what an employer would be looking for. And they're lazy and they're, you know, arrogant and they're, you know, mean and whatever. And that's not, it's obviously I'm not saying like that's always the case because like it's really person to person. And I'm not hating either way. But I just think that like jobs, in a perfect world, jobs wouldn't look at that. I think that the hiring process should just be more extensive. Like, okay, you have face tats. Let's get to know you, figure out why you have the tattoos that you have. Because in my personal opinion, when people ask me about my tattoos and they're like, hey, why'd you get that? I'm never mad about it. I'm like, I put this on my body for you to see. So, like, ask me about it. It usually has a story behind it, you know? So, you know, figure out, you know, who I am and how I work and, like, you know, like, am I a hard worker? That should be, like, literally the most important thing ever. Is, like, you should care less about the tattoos I have and more about, hey, am I going to show up to work on time? Am I going to do my job? You know, like before I had tattoos, I got a job at an ice cream shop, and I was like clean cut as time. And I used to not come into work. I used to show up late, and it's like, how the hell did I have a job, not do it well, and still have a job? But now, when I would do my job well, I can't get one because I have a tattoo. Yeah. Like, that makes no sense.
And so, for your tattoos, obviously, you made it clear that you try to have a meaning behind them when you get them. Do you have any that just, like, don't really have a meaning? Maybe they were spur of a moment. Maybe they're just random for fun. Do you have any that are just kind of playful or fun?
Yeah, I mean, I do. So I have a rose on my thumb. This was like my third tattoo ever, and I went into a shop and was like, I want a tattoo, and I looked at like the art book that they had, and I was like, give me that one. No meaning behind it. I was just like, that looks kind of cool. Then I have this one's cool. It's the Grim Reaper, and there's not really much of a meaning. It's just like a awesome tattoo.
Yeah.
And then I have this one. It's like the world on fire, and it says sorry. And there's not really much of a meaning behind it, other than the fact that my good homie Elijah Heaps, who I make a lot of music with, had become a tattoo artist like recently, and he had like just finished his apprenticeship or whatever. And he's like, hey, I can start tattooing people. And I literally came over like the next day, and I was like, I need a tattoo by my best friend. That's cool. I was like, literally, just do whatever you want. And he like had this drawn up, and he's like, does this look cool? And I was like, yeah, that looks awesome. Put it on my body right now. And so he just did it. I'm trying to look. I have a lot of my tattoos. The cool thing about a lot of my tattoos that I'm like thankful for is a lot of them are done by friends. And a lot of them are original pieces that like they drew. Like this whole like half sleeve you can't really see it very well, but like this whole arm was done by my friend Nick Messerly, and it's crazy. He actually messaged me a couple of years ago, like for the first time, and he was like, "Hey, I like your music," and I was like, "Thank you." And he was like, "I'm an artist," and like I looked at his page, and he was like a canvas painter, you know, like an artist.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm trying to get into tattooing. He's like, I literally just bought a gun on the internet, or like a tattoo machine on the internet. And he's like, I want to do tattoos. And I don't know if I'm blowing up his spot right now, because he is licensed and he works at a shop and everything now. But this is just like in the bedroom, like didn't care. You know, we were just dumb. And he was like, let me just try tattooing you. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I went over to his house, and he actually freehand drew like this whole piece, and then just did it that night. And then a couple of his my tattoos are actually, where is the one that I'm thinking of? Oh, like this one right here.
Yeah.
It's like a ghoul face thing. It was literally on a canvas. He had painted it, and it was on a canvas in his room. And I was over there, and I was like, "Hey, can you tattoo that on me?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, cool, let's do it." And so yeah, like a lot of my pieces are just like very like from friends or from people that I care about, which makes them a little more special because it's like I'll now forever have this piece of you on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if worst comes to worst, like anything was to happen, and I was to lose contact with these people forever, like I can look at my arm and be like,
to remember them by.
Yeah, I can look at my arm and be like, oh my god, I remember when Elijah gave me that tattoo. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, when the tattoos and your general look, you get it from employers, you get it from people just walking by. I'm sure you get it online as well. What kind of, if there's a difference for you, how is kind of just seeing words on a screen with no face behind it different than like someone in the real world right there judging you?
To be honest, internet comments hurt worse than in real life to me. And it's kind of strange, you know, because like it is no face behind it, whatever. But I usually think it's funny because like whenever I'm like walking, like I've definitely been like, you know, talked about when I was walking down the street. But usually I can like look at it and it just becomes funny and like I laugh it off and I'm like, wow, like you really have nothing better to do with your time than just like hate on me even though I'm minding my own business, you know? Or like I held the door for someone at a gas station one time and they said thank you and then looked up from their phone and started laughing at me and I was like, all right, well next time I won't be polite and hold the door, you dumbass. But then when it's on the internet, it's almost like I think a lot of it is because you can always come back to it and like keep seeing it instead of it just being like one and done. So like it's there, and then also it's like I don't know. I've never understood hating on someone on the internet. It's just like just scroll past it. If you don't like what I look like, just scroll past.
Well,
why you like
the touring artist with tons of fans isn't discouraged by the 37 follower person who just said, "Hey, you look dumb." Why is that? That's crazy.
It's crazy, and it's like it did affect me a lot more. You know, before, and I've gotten used to it. You know, because like I think that like any artist who has like, you know, people watching their stuff is gonna have people talking and like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But the best thing I learned, which was actually taught to me, was like, hey, dude, all right, look at your video right now. You have, say I have 300 comments. 10 of them are the meanest thing you could ever read about yourself. It's so mean. But 290 of them are telling you how awesome you are and how cool you are. And it's like, if you really are going to take your time and like focus your energy on those 10 bad ones, that's not fair to those people who are genuinely showing you appreciation. You know, like that's why I have like never ever like responded to a hate comment, because it's like, imagine being one of the people who said something nice and you go to your favorite artist post after you said something nice to them and they've only replied to the bad comments and they didn't reply to yours. Well, then it's like, okay, you care more about the people being mean to you, you know? And so, like, I'd rather just give my energy to the people who are being nice, and also just reminding myself that, like, okay, 10 out of 300 said you sucked, you know? You're doing all right for yourself, you know? Like, it's cool.
Well, and it's different. It's definitely lucky that you have that ability to just kind of shrug it off or, like, have it not bother you as much as some other people do, because there are definitely people who aren't as fortunate or like really get like shattered by these online comments. Yeah, and it's really easy to get lost in that, you know. Like I've had comments that like made me cry. Like I like put my phone. I turned my phone off and was like, "All right, I'm going to bed. I'm sad now." But
you just gotta remind yourself. Like even like my favorite rapper is Lil Uzi Vert. That dude has platinum CDs. Obviously super famous. Obviously like super talented. Obviously amazing artist. And I see people on the internet every day tweeting about how bad his music is. And I'm like, if Uzi saw this, he would be like, okay, sorry, like, okay, bad.
And you could make the argument like it's not good. People just like it, or people just like listening to it. But at some point, if enough people are listening, you have to be like, it can't be that this is trash. This is horrible, and
exactly.
Tens of millions of people like it.
Yeah, I've gotten to that point even now. Like, obviously, I'm nowhere near that big.
Yeah.
But I'm like someone would be like, your music sucks, and I'm like, undeniably, like it doesn't. If this many people like my music, then it can't suck. You just don't like it, and that's fine if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. But like, I think it's pretty much like a fact now that like my music doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Like it's just not your style.
And so I think I know the answer now after these past few comments, but if you could make a song with any artist in the world, if you had your selection, who would it be?
Man, definitely Uzi. I love Uzi.
Yeah.
I would love to work with Elton John. He's been a hero of mine for a long time. Right. I would also love to work with Billy Joel, Lil Wayne, Green Day. There's so many people, man. But like
and it
short
seems
answer.
Like you got a nice variety there too, like different genres, different styles, whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been put on to so many different styles since a kid, because like it was crazy, growing up. I was really fortunate where like, so my dad was super into like '80s like hair bands, like glam rock, like Motley Crue and things like that. And then my mom was really into like '80s like pop music, like Depeche Mode and shit. And then my cousin was really into like rap music, so he would like download like Lil Wayne songs to my MP3 player and tell me not to tell my parents because they didn't let me listen to like music with cuss words in it.
Yeah.
And then my brother was really into like alternative rock and like pop punk and like emo stuff and stuff like that. And so like through having all those different things, they all ended up on my iPod at one point. So like I would just scroll through songs and it was just every genre, And then when I was born in New York and like lived in New York till I was like 13, and then I moved to Texas. Moving to Texas, all my friends here listen to country music. So now these are being thrown into my playlist, and I love country music now. It's so good. And I hated it at first, but it's just cool to be able to like have so many different artistic influences like be pushed to you, because now I can just appreciate music like no matter the genre. I can be like, oh, that's crazy, like even if I don't necessarily like I don't sit in my room and listen to country music the way I do like rap music, but like when I go out, if a country song is playing, I'm like, yo, this is sick. What the hell? This is nice. So yeah.
And so you've had some live experience, but is there any one, whether it's an arena or just a small town theater but near where you grew up, do you have kind of a dream venue or like one place that you would just love to play at?
So like my three main, so I already crossed like two off my bucket list, and one of them is called Trees in Dallas, and it's because I went to like my first ever concert there when I was like 13, and I went there a couple times growing up, seeing like artists that I loved, and I was like, one day I'm gonna be on that stage, and I did it. And I remember being in the green room, like, holy shit. Like, I saw Chance the Rapper and Juicy J perform here, and they, like, sat on this couch that I'm on. This is crazy. And then one of them is the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles. And that is, like Kiss used to perform there before they got big. The Doors used to perform there. Green Day performed there. Motley Crue performed there. a bunch of like legendary bands, and it was really cool because it's on Sunset Boulevard, and they have like the big marquee, like the big sign out front.
Yeah.
And I remember pulling up to the show, and I was headlining the show. Pulled up, and it said "SpaceMan Zack" on the marquee, and it was like a dream come true. I got in the venue, and they had this big green room, like dressing room, that was like the size of my bedroom, with like couches, and there was food on the table, and there was a fridge stocked with beer for me. Like it was crazy, dude. And there's like a sign on the door, like only Spaceman Zack's allowed in here, like crazy. So that made me feel like I was a famous artist. But the three the I'm trying to think. Like the two probably that I really really care about would be, or three I guess, would be Madison Square Garden. Would be obviously just because that's so like if you could sell out Madison Square Garden, like you are absolutely a legend. I want to play at the American Airlines Center, which is the basketball stadium in Dallas. Just because I've seen so many people there, and it's like hometown. So like I think it would be really cool to like become like the hometown hero who like grew up here and then sold out the stadium, you know. And then I've always wanted to perform at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, which I don't know if you've seen the Elton John movie, but they show it in that, and it was the first venue we ever performed at in America, and it's like super legendary. It like blew a lot of artists up performing there.
Yeah,
but like I've always wanted to perform there. I'm pretty sure like the Beatles used to perform there. Like it's crazy legendary, but I've always wanted to perform there, but I'm pretty sure that's like invite only, and so like I don't know if I'll ever get there, but one day.
And so if you have them, if you can think of them, kind of, do you have like a three favorite artists right now, or like that you like listening to? Not necessarily like the three you think are like the best of all time, but just your favorite.
I'm trying to think of who I've been listening to. I really like West Side Gun. He's part of a group. Sorry, I had a burp. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's part of a group called Griselda, and he's actually from Buffalo, New York, which is it's called Rochester, New York, and it's like 30 minutes away from each other. And I just feel like not a lot of people ever come out of those cities. Like they're just like not. It's not like like LA or Dallas. Like not many people like make it big out of those kind of cities. And he's so cool. Like it's like East Coast boom bap, like gangster rap. It's so hard. I love him. So West Side Gun, obviously Uzi, and then I think my third would probably be like a tie between not Uzi. It'd be a tie between Young Thug and Future because I think they're both the coolest artists ever. Future really was a huge influence on me, like shaping. I think he is very influential to like hip hop, and I think that he like changed a lot of things in rap music. And I think it's really funny. I like his songs because I think a lot of people hear him, and he's got like that it's like that style of like braggadocious and like I'm cool as fuck. But if you really listen to his songs, like half the time he's talking about like the most heartbreaking things I've ever heard. Like he's talking about like losing his mind and being depressed, and like if you just really gotta like get past the sound and listen to the lyrics, and it's really crazy because I love him for that. I'm like, you just made like a sad song. Just
super
so cool.
Heartfelt, authentic song.
It's crazy.
Which at least personally, I think are like some of my favorite songs. Like a lot of my favorite artists have like lyrics that are very, very honest, very true about their experiences through life and whatnot, whether that's good or bad. And so,
for sure, I love that stuff. I also I love the contradiction of taking a song. Like Future's a perfect example of like at first listen you think like, oh, this is like a party song, like this is cool, But then if you really listen, he's like masking his insecurities and his pain behind that.
Yeah.
And I think that like speaks a lot. I think that's like almost the truest form, even more than like the song sounding sad in itself, because it's like, you know, as human beings, we always try to like mask our pain and like that. So like that almost hits me harder when I'm like, I listen and I'm like, oh, bro, like you don't want anyone to know that you are sad, but like you are.
And
you know what I'm saying?
I like all kinds of artists. I like artists who try to hide it or try to make it into something positive.
Yeah.
Like you said, Future, I know artists like 21 Pilots do that a lot. They have like super upbeat, happy songs, and the lyrics are talking about like their mental health, anxiety, whatnot.
Yeah.
And then I also just like artists who like don't hide it. They're like, hey, I'm sad, and that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And that, like, I have both of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I've done songs with, like, both of that, like, those directions. It's really funny that you say that, though. Like, I just showed my sister a song that's going to be on my, like, upcoming project. And it's, like, this, like, dance beat. Like, it's, like, an actual, like, synth dance beat. And it's, like, it's like a club beat, you know? And she's like, I would listen to this song at, like, a pool party. It seems so fun. It's going to be a summer song. And then I was like, okay, now listen to, like, what I'm saying. And, like, the whole song is about me, like, I'm not okay, and I feel so sad, and nobody understands me, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, my God. I didn't even, like, hear that at first. What the hell? And she's like, you just masked it. And I was like, yeah. But it's I kind of love doing that because it's, like, even in myself, you know, like, when I'm making those songs, it's like, yes, I am feeling this way, but I also, like, the human mind is kind of weird and complex where you're like, I am, you know, feeling these mental health issues, but at the same time, don't really want to be feeling these mental health issues. So I want to make something that's going to make me feel better. So, like, you just kind of naturally, like, make something that sonically sounds happier, but you're still saying all the same things, you know? It's crazy.
And so, of the songs you've made, they're a lot of them are so different from each other, but do you have a favorite song of your own that you've made?
I would say my favorite song is definitely, it's like an unreleased one, so that's kind of a cheater answer. But out of the ones that I've, like, put out, my two favorite songs that I've always, like, it kind of switches all the time. It just kind of depends on the mood I'm in, especially because I do, you know, so many different genres and stuff. But the two I always come back to, I love Drugs in the Rain. I think that song is really awesome, and, like, I love the accessibility of it because it's, like, almost like a pop song, but, you know, like, really true to myself. Like, the lyrics in that, again, it's just, like, very true to me. And then I love the song Pure, which is, like, I feel like one of my, like, hidden gem songs. Like, people, like, hit me up all the time, and they're like, yo, my favorite song is Pure, but it's so underrated because, like, it doesn't have all the plays that the other ones do, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of love that almost because it's, like, you know, my hidden song.
Yeah.
And I love it just because of the simplicity of it. Like, it is literally 4 lyrics that repeat 3 times. And the song is a minute and a half. And it's just a piano. It's just like ding, ding. And then, like, it's just so simple, but, like, it just got the point across that I wanted to get across in, like, 4 lines. And it's crazy. So.
All right. Well, those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great time. I think it's probably my longest podcast yet, and what a great one to have as the longest one.
Hell yeah. Sorry I was very long-winded with my...
Oh, no, that's fine. That's what podcasts are. They're a longer form of content. It lets a more honest view kind of on whoever you're talking to. So thank you so much for coming on. Instagram, Spotify, anywhere online, where can people find you?
All my social medias are the SpaceMan Zack, and Zack is Z-A-C-K because everyone spells that wrong. But it's the SpaceMan Zack. My Instagram is SpaceMan Zack is dead. That's the only one that's different. But everything else is the SpaceMan Zack. So yeah, follow me, listen to me on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. Also, thank you so much for having me on, for real, because it's been
it's been great. I think we had some great topics to talk about, and it was a really awesome conversation. So
yeah,
I'll leave links to some of your stuff down below, and thank you again for coming on.
Heck yeah, thank you so much.
I wanna have it all right.